everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Good Leader Podcast. Today, it is fall. We are in the middle of it, and so we are going to talk about some of our fall favorites. And I am fired up because I heard a quote from a famous celebrity, an athlete, and it has got me riled up. So we're going to base this entire podcast on me being riled up, Jess.
I'm really scared.
Well, I'm pretty
ready.
fired up.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're going to talk about taking personal responsibility. We're going to talk about entitlement. We're going to talk about a lot of things today because I'm fired up. But I'm proud to be here. I'm excited that you're here. Jess, you look nice today.
Wow. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah.
I've been looking kind of rough on the pod.
Did you watch the YouTube episodes?
Yeah, it was really bad.
Hey.
And like there was a bit of me that I posted on the Instagram. My hair, God, everywhere.
Well,
Okay, but I will say the light, you can be having a great hair day and the lights, there's been so many even you posted of me and I'm like, what is happening?
okay,
with
now
my
that's great
hair?
excuse making. This is exactly what we're talking about. On's right there.
here we
She's giving
go.
you an excuse. She's giving you out. That's great. Sometimes we feel
But-
like we're supportive. I feel like she's enabling bad behavior. You're looking great today, Jess. Don't let her
You
you
are
own
looking
it.
great
I
today.
should take accountability.
You did. You
for
took personal
looking
responsibility, and I appreciate it.
awful.
We didn't even set this up. You just came in before the pod and told me this, and I was like, "Oh, this is great," because we're talking about taking personal responsibility. You
Hey,
looked at yourself.
I thought Jess looked
literally.
great.
That's not the point, though. It's about her. She didn't think she looked great, so she took personal responsibility for her life, and she said, "Let's do this." You know, I appreciate it, Jess.
Sometimes you just got to do it.
You know what? I appreciate it. Well, speaking of doing it, I have a contest for you guys. It's fall. We are recording this. We're right before Halloween. You're probably listening to this just before Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone. It's approaching. It's fall. We love things. We love football, which, by the way, in an upcoming episode, I want to give a quick preview. If you want to do a little research, you want to do a little homework, you should watch the quarterback series on Netflix because we're going to talk about it in the next episode or two. And once again, things are just firing me up. It was my airplane show. Anj recommended it, so I watched it. She said, I can't remember what you said, but you were really pro Mahomes, if I'm not mistaken.
Anj has been talking about it on the pod for
She has.
a few.
Football in general, but I have definitely talked about that. There's some areas I wasn't pro Mahomes, but in terms of leadership,
Yes.
totally.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm
had
not,
way
I'm not
more
saying
respect.
like no one is 100%. No one on the entire quarterback series, which they follow Marcus Mariota, Kirk Cousins, and Patrick Mahomes through the entire 2022 season. It's fascinating. It's actually so we're going to look at it from a leadership lens.
Yep.
And if you want to do a little homework, you can watch the episodes. Even if you just watch a couple, it'll give you the vibe. They're about an hour long. I think there are like 9 of them. And we're going to do some categories. It's going to be pretty fun. I think you're going to like the setup. But I digress. Today, we're talking about taking personal responsibility, and we're talking about fall. Last time we talked about Twix, Jess dropped greatest fact of all time, that there is a difference between the left and the right Twix.
I am a plethora of random facts.
I love it.
But I can't think of them on the spot. Like, you're like, tell me a random fact. I'm like, there was an eclipse last week. I don't know. Like, you never know.
That was decent. That was pretty good.
Did
Not
you
the
know there
greatest.
was an eclipse last week?
I did. It was really cloudy in Muskogee, Oklahoma, so we didn't get to see it. My wife, however, was in Canyonlands National Park
So she
and got to
saw.
see the eclipse
Oh,
at
wow.
Canyonlands.
Then she definitely
She
saw
definitely,
it.
yeah. I was like, wow, she went on this big hike. I'll save it for another episode, but I got lots of stories because I was Mr. Mom for like 5 days in a row. Talk about appreciating someone more. It was like wife swap. Do you remember the show Wife Swap? Except I just swapped
With no wife.
with no wife. And I was like, wow, I really appreciate. You know, because the end of the wife swap. So, do you guys watch this?
I've
Is
never
that
Yeah.
too
seen
old?
it.
Yeah.
Never seen it.
They replaced. Oh my
You've never
god!
seen it?
They
It was
replaced
actually-
like
It's funny.
a
I
very
liked it.
strict mother with like a very doesn't
Yes.
care about anything mother, and they switch houses.
Yeah.
And they parent
It's
each other's
interesting.
like
Wow.
kids.
It
and
was
stuff.
cool because you would do the house rules for the first week, and then they would flip, and the mom or wife got to make up the rules for like the second week. So they experienced both worlds.
Yeah.
And inevitably at the end, everybody appreciated their own mom, their own wife more, which is great. That was a
Yeah.
good lesson. I certainly do. I certainly appreciate
Shout
not just my wife, but all wives, all mothers out there.
Shout out Jen Mer.
Seriously, I was like, wow, this is hard work. Give me a stage, please, please put me back in my job. Jocelyn, actually, this is a great quote for all you moms out there. On the very first, because the girls and I, you know what? I will pat myself on the back. I gave them a little pregame huddle. As first morning, I was like, hey, girls, because my daughters are 13 and 11, and I'm like 10, she's almost 11. I'm going to need you. I'm going to need you to step up. This is a team effort. I'm going to need you to step up. I am not going to be mama. I can't do it. There's no way. So I need you to step up. I need you to help with chores. I need you to help. We are collectively going to replace mom.
I love this, by the way, a lot.
And Jocelyn really stepped up. Well, I would say every child is different. Every kid, especially
child.
as you start watching your children grow. Yeah, she is definitely a middle child.
Yeah, she is.
And so it came through this weekend
Yeah.
because she stepped up. She's willing to cook, willing to clean, willing to do a lot of things. And the first morning, she just took it upon herself. She got her school done really fast, and then she is doing stuff around the house. And about 10:30, she looks at me and she was like, I have done so many dishes today. I did not realize how much Mama does.
Oh,
I really appreciate her.
baby girl.
And then get this is, when is she coming back?
Yeah.
It's like, she'd been gone, she was gonna be gone 5 days, and this was in the first 3 hours.
Oh,
When is she coming back? Because I've done so much. But it was truly I see it through her eyes. And so I texted Jen immediately. I was like, oh, you will not believe what Jocelyn just said. So it was
That is
great.
adorable.
Oh,
That's
she
my
probably-
life. That's what we're going through. But taking personal responsibility is the premise. You know what? I don't even know why we got on that, because I have a fun game for you. We talked about Twix, that the cookie is actually bigger on one side, and we talked about candy. I have the top 10 selling candies.
Okay.
I have the top 10 selling
We're gonna have to
candies
guess
in the
them.
United States. And you're going to have to guess them because we're going to set this up. Because Halloween's approaching, so I want to do a fun Halloween contest. And we're going to see how many. Here's the way. We're going to do it Family Feud style. So you're one team, okay? Do you want to go against each other? Just get to pick. Do you want to be one team or you want to go against each other?
One team,
Collaborate
one
or
dream.
compete. Collaborate
Is it
or
us
compete.
against him? What
One
do y'all
team.
want?
No,
One dream.
I am the host. So do y'all want to be collaboration or competition? Your pick. Collaborate or compete. Lim, collaborate or compete.
Let's compete.
I
Anj,
knew it.
Collaborate or compete.
Collaborate.
Collaborate or compete.
Collaborate.
Collaborate.
All
All right.
right.
Sorry, Lim. The ladies win.
Let's do it.
It was a democratic vote. Here we go. So it's
But I knew Em
collaboration.
would want to compete.
Yeah, did you really?
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
you would want to compete.
I honestly thought you
No.
were going
I
to
did too. I thought
compete
Andrew would want to compete. Okay, here we go. So you get 3 strikes. That's it. You win as a team, you lose as a team, you get 3 strikes.
Okay.
All right, you got to guess the top 10. All right, you can guess me any answer you want. I don't care. What you got? Top 10. These are the top 10 selling. Here's what I Googled. Candy bars, just for a little hint. You can
Okay,
interpret.
candy bar.
That's up to your interpretation.
Can
I'm
we
just telling
know-
you what I Googled.
Can we know what they are out of order? And we have to rank
Yeah, if
them?
you get anything in the top 10, I'm going to count
got
as a
We
win.
get it.
Got
Yeah,
it.
Snickers.
Snickers coming in at number 3. Correct.
Yep. Reese's.
Reese's coming in at number 2. Correct.
Payday.
Payday. Get out of here, Grandpa. Get out of here, that Grandpa candy.
Sorry.
World War II veterans are dying at 2,000 a day. Payday sales are slumping. Come on.
say-
Nobody's buying Payday. I
Yeah,
love
that's
Payday.
true.
But
I
I
hate
do love
Payday.
Payday.
What
Man, I
It's
love
a
it.
classic.
It is a classic. It's an old man
The
candy
candy
bar,
bar
though.
you put on
And old
s'mores.
men are dying by the dozens.
Hershey's?
We're last of a
Yes.
dying breed.
Hershey's.
Hershey's classic, number 1, actually.
Great
Number 1
teamwork.
still. Number 1. It's the go-to boring candy, right?
Yeah,
It's the thing that it's like,
exactly.
wow, there are still 75
It's a-
miniature Hershey bars in here, but we
Yeah.
still buy them.
It's an ingredient. I think that's why it's number
Oh,
1.
it's
like
an ingredient.
s'mores. You have to have that
You
for
need
s'mores.
Hershey's.
I love
That's
that.
true,
Anything
though.
else?
Brownies.
Yeah.
Sometimes brownies people put it
Fudge.
in.
The cocoa,
All right,
the cocoa
give me another
powder?
one. You guys got 1 strike and you got 3 correct. You got 7 more. Here we go.
Okay.
You got Hershey's, Reese's, and Snickers. Still a lot of room on the board. You got the
Twix.
top 3 answers. Twix coming in at number 5. Nice job. I will say there are most of these are very guessable. There are a couple of like, wow, that's pretty tricky. But there are some very guessable ones. One,
Butterfingers.
Butterfinger. Not on the board.
Wow.
That's,
Wow.
Survey
that's
says-
because it
sorry.
gets stuck
Old
in your
school.
teeth.
Sorry, don't lay a finger on my Butterfinger. Is that it? Sorry, get your finger
Did we
off
say
my
Kit
Butterfinger.
Kat?
Kit Kat coming in at number 4.
Oh, Kit Kat's good.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off a piece of that.
Kit Kat.
Bump, bump, bump,
There you go, Jess.
bump, bump, bump. No, I tell him. Nobody tell him. Office reference. You got 5 more.
No
1, 2, 3,
candies.
4, 5.
No candies.
Well, they're
just
all candy
chocolate.
bars.
I'm
I will
blanking.
say yes. These are all chocolates.
They're chocolate.
Yeah, these are all
Oh.
chocolates. Come on, I'm going to put about a 1-minute timer on here. Let's go. Almond Joy coming in at number 9. Congratulations,
great
Jess.
job.
You got it. Almond Joy coming in at number 9.
Those are not good, by
What
the
are
way.
those? What's that yellow one? It's like wrapped in a yellow.
It's Mr. Goodbar. Would you like to answer it? It is Mr. Goodbar. It's an old man candy. It's chocolate and peanuts. It's delicious.
They are delicious, but I don't know if
It's
I want
Mr.
to say
Goodbar.
it.
scared.
Mr.
I'm worried
Goodbar.
it's gonna be
what
like
a
a
great
Payday.
name for a candy bar, by the way. I would have loved to have been in the
I've got
early
one.
stages of naming candy bars.
I don't want this to be the guess, but what do y'all think about 100 grand?
Well, hey, for the purpose of the show, go ahead and tell us on the mic, and then they can debate
100
it.
grand.
What about
should we,
the,
should we guess?
100 grand?
100
the
grand.
mint,
Interesting choice.
The mint.
Ooh.
People like those.
Oh,
Yep.
oh.
Yep, yep, yep,
People
yep.
do
The-
like mint.
York-
You guys
the
ready for a
silver
hint? I'll give you
one.
some hints.
York, the York
Are you ready for a
patty.
hint? Are you
York
ready for a hint?
patty.
You have
Yes.
2 strikes. You have 2 strikes. Are you ready for a hint?
Yeah, we need
Okay,
one.
I guess it's not a York patty.
Don't guess York. All right, hint number 2. Hint number 2. You are missing one that is like a very boring candy bar. Nobody loves it. Nobody hates it. Named after a famous French trio.
Three Musketeers.
Three Musketeers coming in at
yeah.
number 6.
How many do we
Milky
have
Way.
left?
Milky
Way, number 7.
Yes.
Nice. Now we're in a row. Now you've only got 2 left, and I will say these are the 2 toughest ones. 2 toughest ones. You got 2 strikes. Let's
Do
see
we
if you
get
can
more
it.
hints
Do you
or
want more
no?
hints? These are the toughest ones. Okay, one is like a knockoff, or what's a spinoff. Okay, like you have the main sitcom and then you got the spinoff
Ooh,
series.
this would be,
so this is a spinoff. It's like
this
there's
would
the
be
main bar and then
Cookies
there's
and
this
Cream.
one.
Hershey's.
Nailed it. Hershey's Cookies and Cream coming in at
Wow.
number 8.
Wow.
Really? That be Butterfingers?
Wow, was that a sound drop? Nice.
Slay.
Nice. I
Wow.
love
That
it's-
just got Jared's
and
attention.
It did. He saved it for himself. Did you notice that? Like your answers did not get a soundbite. You came up with some great answers.
Say an answer. I'll give it to you.
Last one. What's the
And
last
it's
one?
the last one, number 10. This one's tough. This one is tough. This is a candy that everyone has heard of. I have never purchased one.
What?
I have eaten them. I have eaten them in the miniature version in like offices, but I have never. But I've seen the commercials, and it's everywhere.
Can you say an ingredient that's not chocolate? Can you tell us an ingredient that's
The
not
only ones I know, there are probably different variations, but this one's just like chocolate, just like a chocolate bar. I don't think anything else is in it. Like there's no nougat. There might be different variations, but there's no
Is there
nougat.
like
There's no
a-
peanuts.
Like the crunchy stuff.
Correct. There's none of that.
None of that. What's that called?
But I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It has no ingredients, including crunchy stuff, squishy stuff, nutty stuff.
I think I missed your statement about nothing else in it. I was in my head.
Seriously,
I was
It's just a
the
plain
version I know is
chocolate?
just a chocolate bar. Yeah. It's kind
Milk
of the
chocolate,
it's kind of
right?
the uppity version of a Hershey's bar to me. Like when I think of these,
Not that like Ghirardelli?
this one's like I want to act like I'm fancier, so I buy this one. I'm like, well, okay, it's a chocolate bar.
Is it?
Ghirardelli.
Is it
You can
Ghirardelli?
you can
That's
talk.
what I'm thinking.
Ghirardelli.
Okay, that one's even next level. You're even more pretentious
Okay,
if you're
so
buying
we-
Ghirardelli.
Oh, that's
this
all
is
I
like
buy,
this is
so.
like I wish I had more money to be pretentious enough to buy Ghirardelli.
Wonka?
But I want not Wonka.
Is that my third strike?
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep giving you hints. It's named after an animal. Named after an animal.
I have no idea.
No clue.
An animal that is important to the Christian faith.
Fish.
Nope.
Goat.
Nope.
I almost
whale?
said goat.
Nope.
I was like, goat.
A dog.
Why is goat
Nope.
what comes
You're just
to
a
my
dog.
mind?
What's a dog have to do with the Christian faith?
I ran out of animals.
A lamb.
Like a dog returns to his vomit.
Lamb.
Are there chocolates
Not lamb
around
chocolate.
lambs?
Not
Lion.
lamb chocolate.
A lion.
Dove chocolate. Dove.
Dove chocolate. Nice. That's it. Dove chocolate
Okay,
coming in at number 10. I was
honestly,
shocked.
I thought about Dove a million times. I didn't think about it
Should have
as
said
a
it.
candy
Should
bar,
have said
though.
it. Should have said it.
It's not a candy
Did you
bar.
think of like the little bitties?
Yeah, I was
Me too.
thinking
That's
of,
what I'm
like,
saying.
the-
No,
We have them in the office.
We do. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've
But
been
they
the
have
miniature
them in
version.
bar
I don't know.
form,
I think
too.
they do have
Do
a bar.
they?
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, I've never seen a
The
bar.
dark- the
I
dark
would have said
chocolate.
Dove first thing. Is the first thing that came to my mind with chocolate.
Yeah, I'm
Because
curious.
They love it.
I'm curious what the favorite candy bar is. I'm tempted to do, one of our polls out there because I'm curious. Like, would that make the top 10 of favorite candy bars? It obviously does. People are
Dove?
buying it. Yeah.
Oh,
but
it's
I would,
all I eat. Ghirardelli or Dove.
Wow. Okay.
I know, not surprised.
That is not surprising.
I know.
But
Anj
I would
doesn't
take.
eat
I would
anything.
take. Like
I also don't
7.
really eat
I would
chocolate,
take
but-
7 of these candy bars over a Dove.
Really?
Easily.
Dove is
The
pretty good.
dark
Easily.
chocolate.
Dove is
Easily.
pretty good.
Dove,
Well, now I'll take
Dove,
the dark chocolate
chocolate.
version of every one of these.
Me too.
I will say though,
Dark chocolate's
I much prefer dark.
But there isn't a dark,
their
dark chocolate version.
advertising
Yeah, there is.
focuses on
Snickers?
women, so I
There's dark. Snickers dark.
subconsciously don't eat it as much because the advertisements are for women.
Oh.
Have
No,
y'all
that's
noticed
true. I definitely have noticed that. Yeah.
Can't catch yourself
Hashtag
eating a
sexism.
woman's
But when
candy bar,
I do,
can you?
Hashtag
when I
sexism.
do eat it, it's very good.
Pink tax.
But I have noticed that.
All right, that was fun. That's our top 10 candy bars. Let us know what your favorite candy bar is on all the social medias. You can check us out at Paradigm Shift Leadership. We might even throw out a few questions with that, Jess. I'm curious. What is your favorite Halloween candy? That's a good question. What's your favorite one? Let's wrap this up. Then we're going to go to break and we're going to come back and talk about personal
It's always
responsibility.
Reese's, and then you can freeze them.
Oh, that's good.
Putting a Reese's cup in the freezer.
That's nice. Is Dove really your favorite candy then? Or Ghirardelli? Ghirardelli dark?
Yeah,
Favorite?
if I could pick those. Or what's the.
But that's not a Halloween
no.
candy. What's your favorite
the
Halloween
one-
candy?
What's the. They're the balls.
Ooh,
of-
Whoppers.
No, ew.
Really?
Crunch. Cookie.
It's got the
No,
crunchy stuff
it's,
in it.
It's not chocolate?
It's chocolate.
'Kay.
And it's like it has stuff inside.
Raisinets.
fall.
Is it the
Is it
Lindor
Ghirardelli?
Lindor
Yes.
truffles?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
That's good.
Those are
Another
good.
uppity candy.
By
Jeez,
Ghirardelli.
Good grief.
Have you ever had the
Well,
coconut
you
one?
asked.
Good grief. Where
Yeah,
did
I
you
like 'em
trick
all.
or treat? Like Fifth Avenue?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, that's where you get the full candy
Jeez
bars.
Louise. You said the little ball, and all of us poor folks were like, Whoppers! Whoppers! Candy! Halloween! Whoppers!
I
almost
was like,
said
And you're like,
ew.
yeah.
She bougie.
No. Like poor people food. Jeez Louise. Come on.
We don't
Yeah.
like get a ton of candy trick or treating, but that's if I had to pick, that'd be
What
my
she
favorite.
does is
It's a good choice.
whenever she
I'm not
buys,
going to deny the good choice. It is delicious.
If I'm going
That is
to
a
buy
great-
something, it's either that or the like dark caramel Ghirardelli. I guess.
I'm about it.
Yeah.
I'm about it.
Wow,
Yeah.
you guys and your fancy candy. Give me just a plain old Kit Kat over here.
I
and
can't
I'm
remember the
happy.
last time I had like a candy bar, like that kind
Yeah.
of like candy bar.
That's what is great about Halloween. You just get the little miniature versions. They're good stuff. All right, let's go to break. After the break, we're going to come back and I'm going to share this quote that fired me up about personal responsibility.
You can follow the me trying to do an ad. Me trying to do an ad and dying.
Follow Paradigm Shift Leadership at all of your local social media vendors, platforms, and
Local.
preferences.
Fantastic, ladies. I
So
love
good.
the drop. I love the ad. That was really good. Yes,
Please
check
cut
us out
that.
at Paradigm Shift Leadership. I love all the social media vendors. That's good. That's
Your
actually
local
fantastic. I love
vendors.
it. All right, so here's the thing. I'm fired up. And I want to get your response to this. You can give me your immediate response. I've already obviously revealed my hand because I'm saying it really fired me up. But Drew Holiday, if you've listened to the pod, you know I'm a big fan of sports. I'm a big fan of specifically basketball, specifically NBA basketball. So this time of year, season's about to start, and I'm really paying attention. There were some big trades that went down, and a ridiculously famous, talented player named Damian Lillard was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. In turn, the Milwaukee Bucks traded out their really good point guard, who's just a notch below Damian Lillard. Drew Holiday is his name. That's J-R-U-E, Drew. And so Drew Holiday got traded out. And his wife, Lauren, evidently he was taking a nap, and he wakes up from his nap to recognize, oh, I just got traded. Wow, I woke up and it's like, hey, you've been traded.
That's wild.
So Lauren Holiday, who in her own right was a professional athlete, she's actually a member of the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame. She was a professional women's soccer player, Lauren Holiday. She had this quote, and it's like, imagine a world where we didn't hide behind the business of things, where we didn't treat one another like commodities. Instead, we saw each other as valuable pieces of a human community meant to serve one another in a mosaic of ways. Lauren wrote, imagine if we didn't just put dollar signs on athletes. That's her quote. That's the quote that I heard. How's that land? What do you think? What do you think?
Well, it'd be a lot easier to not put dollar signs on athletes if they weren't worth millions of dollars.
That's what I say, Anj. Thank you very much. All right, so here we go. If you listen to this and you're listening to the Good Leader podcast, that actually sounds pretty poetic. Actually, like, you know what? Actually,
did
yeah,
word it
especially
very well.
I'm impressed with her
It was
eloquence. Let's hire her as a speaker.
Yeah.
Because it's like, instead we saw each other as I like this phrase. Just instead we saw each other as valuable pieces of a human community meant to serve one another in a mosaic of ways. Wow, that is beautiful. Actually, I agree with that statement. That's beautiful. But her whole premise is she's frustrated because Drew takes a nap, he wakes up, and then he's traded. And let me give some asterisk right here. I'm going to put in an asterisk and a disclaimer. I heard this soundbite as I'm driving down the road, on the radio, and it fired me up. I immediately,
And then you
that's what we're
drove
talking
off
about
the
today.
interstate.
I did. I immediately pulled over. I called Drew Holiday, and I said, Drew, did you hear what Lauren said? Did you agree?
Your wife.
Your wife, man.
She's lost her mind.
Come on. Enough, salmon lady. So I actually just heard that soundbite. And then I went back, though, and I read the entire context because it was evidently this huge Instagram post, a huge story. If you read her entire context, it gets better. So I appreciate that she gave some context too. I am not saying this for sympathy. I just want people to understand that there are human beings behind these moves and these trades and all this kind of stuff. And it would be nice to have a heads up and all this kind of thing. She talked about my kids are my kids are in school. We're going to change. We have to change our church. We have to change our community involvement. We have to completely uproot. I can actually empathize with that, and that's what she was showing us. So I want to give an asterisk and be fair to her in that regard. However, even in that, I still have a problem, okay? I still have a problem. Anj, what were you going to say? I thought you were going to say something. I'm just ranting over here, and I don't want to just
No,
rant the whole
but
time.
the one thing I'm thinking, I wasn't going to necessarily say anything, but the one thing I was just thinking is like, it could probably be fair. The one argument for her to say like a heads up would be great. I
Ooh,
also think in the
disagree with that.
industry
I
though, you
disagree
don't
with
always
that.
have that.
I disagree with that too, Anj, because I thought about that too. Yes.
I've got two thoughts.
Here's why I disagree. What are your
I've
thoughts?
got two thoughts. I think maybe it could help categorize it. I love the fact that she is showing the humanity of a celebrity. I think us as little people need to see celebrities as humans, not gods. But I think where I agree with you is she's not a victim. They are not victims.
Thank you.
So-
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where I say, that's why I
Yeah.
want to give the disclaimer. I want to be fair to her, and I can even empathize. But the truth is, and here's my point of this day, take personal responsibility. You always have a choice. That's this victim mentality. Victim mentality, you blame, you shame, you complain, you quit. That's not, you have a choice. Every single person in every single situation has a choice. Now, let me give my disclaimer. If we're talking about extreme situations of abuse, I'm going to table this conversation.
Sure.
I think there are moments of extreme situations of abuse where advocacy and intervention or even rescue needs to happen. Okay? So let me take that small percentage out, okay? Because I don't, if you're sitting there saying like, well, what about people who are physically abused or children who are abused or they don't have a choice? I will grant you that. I totally give you that one, okay? So are we cool with that? Are we fair with that?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I don't want Jared to over here be like, wow, that guy, geez Louise, you know?
It's going to get canceled.
Cutting throats out here.
No, I am not. I am not talking about that. So let's set that aside because this is the Good Leader podcast. Everyone then, I'm talking about the 95% of the rest of the world who, whatever your situation is in, you, in some regard, at some point, are choosing that situation. And that's what I want to talk about today. I really like the definition from Masterclass of personal responsibility, if I can find it here. Masterclass, great website, great stuff. Personal responsibility means holding yourself accountable for your own actions and exercising self-control. Okay, I'm going to repeat that and then elaborate. Personal responsibility means holding yourself accountable for your own actions and exercising self-control. Those with personal responsibility work to understand their own power and agency in a given situation. They know external factors matter, but they also understand their individual responsibility as well. Okay, I love that definition, and that's what I'm talking about. And so this is for wherever you fall. And I think hearing Lauren Holiday's statements make me think of this new spectrum of personal responsibility. And on one side of the spectrum, we often talk about this to people who are dismissive or overtly having a victim mentality or not holding themselves accountable. You know what I'm saying? This is the person like, hey, you're broken out of a job. Yeah, it's everybody else's fault. Yes, if you would have given me that handout, I'd be rich by now. Or if I would have had this opportunity, or if
There is nothing more irritating than that to me.
Then I fire you up.
Yeah,
Do
it's
you have
extremely
people-
annoying.
What annoys you about that, Jess?
Because I wrote down a quote that I think speaks to this. 99% of all failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. And I think that you pave the way for your life. I mean, despite trials that may come your way, you are ultimately the person that chooses your path. And I think that most of the time, people aren't willing to put in the effort of taking that risk of what it might mean when you might come out on the other side,
Right.
due to the effort that you put in, I guess. So
That's a great quote. You know who said that quote? I can tell you because it was on my list too, Jess. Great minds think alike. Check it out right there.
George Washington Carver.
George Washington Carver, 99% of all failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. Give me that horn because we were on the same page right there, Lim. Come on. That's perfect.
We are connected.
Slow
That's
on
what
the
I'm
draw.
talking
We
about.
are connected.
That's what I'm talking about. No, seriously, I love that quote. I
We're
found it
connected.
too because that's one side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I want to speak to both sides of the spectrum today. We'll start there and we'll end with the other side of the spectrum, which is entitlement. And I actually think we use the word entitlement. It's maybe too much and maybe not enough. You know what I'm saying? We've kind of come to this weird place where I feel like a stretch. It was like 10 years ago we used it too much in describing millennials. Now I feel like we're kind of afraid to use it because now we use words like psychological safety and creating a safe space. And I'm like, well, okay, does a safe space mean that you just get to moan and groan and
entitlement
be,
can
you know,
mean so many different things too.
I
now.
think I agree with that. And
Yeah.
so when I heard that statement, I was like, wow, that is a very entitled statement.
Yeah.
And not taking responsibility on the other side, like, wow, this individual is obviously successful monetarily. But even when you have success, this level of not taking responsibility, to me, the symptom of that is kind of wanting your cake and eating it too. Which is my problem with this whole situation. The whole reason that I got frustrated by this and where I want to land the plane on taking personal responsibility is we like the fact that she's humanizing athletes. Cool. Nobody's arguing that. That's great. But then in the quote, it's, wouldn't it be great if we didn't put dollar signs to athletes? Sure. Don't take any money. If you want to not take money, then there wouldn't be a dollar sign to your athleticism. However, you are choosing to opt into this job. They're both professional athletes, and they're getting paid. I think Drew Holiday's contract is like $40 million or something like that.
And like, sis, you don't have to worry about a single thing when you move.
Well,
that's kind of where it comes
not
to me too.
monetarily.
I'm like,
Not monetarily.
You're moving your whole life, but also there are minimal consequences. I guess everyone has their different struggles.
Well, there are. I would say this. I don't like the idea of taking away the struggle. My point is, like, you're choosing that struggle though.
For
Like,
sure.
you're choosing your struggle.
Yeah.
You are choosing the struggle of, we're professional athletes, we make a lot of money. What is that's the give. What is the take? Hey, we could get traded. We might have to uproot our family. We might have to, but even then, you don't have to uproot your family.
And that happens to everyone.
Drew
Everyone
could
gets
work.
traded.
I know a lot of
Just
dads. I
random.
know a lot of dads that are contract workers, hard working. They're on an oil rig in the middle of the Gulf. They're on a pipeline in the middle of a field. They are welding in the middle of the Middle East. Why? Because that's how they're choosing to provide for their family. Once again, that's a choice though. And so you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be like, oh, I have to do this. I have to be away from my family to work. I'm actually wrestling with that right now because I'm traveling a lot. And I'm like, well, I have to do it. I have to do it. No, Jared, you do not have to do it. You do not have to do it.
Yeah.
If you ever find yourself saying you have to do it, you are probably slipping into a lack of accountability. Well, I have to do this. Well, what do you mean you have to do this? Well, you could take less money, Jared. Well, I guess I could. Or you could downsize your company. Well, I guess I could. Speaking of downsizing, that's my problem with giving them a heads up. Hey, Jess, we're thinking about firing
I
you.
thought that was going somewhere. Guy was like,
No, speaking of downsizing, no, because you said I can empathize with the thought
Yeah.
of giving, hey, the
Yeah.
guy takes a nap and he wakes up and he's been traded. Jess, we're thinking about firing you next week. We haven't decided yet. I just want to give you a heads up. We're thinking about firing you.
I mean, honestly, I would rather you give me a heads up.
No way.
she
Heck no.
would. That is
No
the
way.
pushback I have received
I think-
before in my life.
No way.
But I think there's some trauma here that
Okay.
we are forgetting to mention that has happened.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Just tell me where we're at.
Please.
Okay, cool. Here's the problem.
I really didn't set to your point, by the way. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, that's fine. That's fine. Here's my point.
Yeah.
Then we decide not to fire you. Oh, well, okay. So, okay. Now I'm on it. Okay, so
Right.
I might get fired. I might not.
Yeah.
What is this? So my point is, I know they're professional athletes, and I want to humanize them, but take the business aspect of it.
Right.
There are moments where it's like, hey, if I let you know this problem or this is an area that we might trade you, we might trade you. We're thinking about trading you. And then we don't trade you. And then we turn around and say, hey, you're a valuable part of this organization. We can't live without you. Really? Because you told me yesterday you were thinking about trading me.
Right.
So I actually don't even empathize with that. I'm like, what do you want to do? How much of a heads up? Because that's where the lack of accountability has to be. It's like, well, how much time? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? An hour? A day? A month? A year? How much heads up do you want?
Yeah.
Right.
Th-
Well,
th-
that was
yeah.
going to be my follow up. Is like, but what would have been like? Did she? I guess my question really is, outside of time, was she more upset at how he found out or the timing in which he found out?
I don't know.
Is treating these like celebrities, for lack of a better sense, as people, would it have just been calling him into the office and telling him that happened, and she would have just felt better about it? I don't really think so. Honestly, I think there's still would have been something to complain about within that. But in my mind, it's like you can't control the timing in which you tell someone. The only like kind of level that I do understand is like, oh, you found out like on a text message. Because in the same example, that's me like texting, hey,
Yeah.
Jess, don't
Right.
worry about coming in today. I fired you. So, so I can get that
I can too.
single piece of
I
it
can too.
is the how. But yeah, the timing, the reasoning, I think everything else is out of your control.
I think so too. And if we take this down, if we take this crazy level that none of us here can understand, these millions of dollars professional athletes, no one here happens to be a professional athlete. But if you take it down to then every day,
I might be.
I know, speak for myself. Okay, I'm not close to being a professional athlete.
I don't know about you, but
There they're then within the realm of everyday living, quote unquote, everyday folks. There is still the same level of inconsistencies that we share with others. Like, oh, well, I should have been given a heads up. Well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? It's also okay to be like, well, that hurt. This hurts. You know what? True. Like if that's your statement, hey, we're humans and this hurts. We're not robots. Wow. You know what? I completely agree with that. That's a different statement to me. But this idea of, hey, woe is me. I have to do this. I have to do this. Once again, when you start using the phrase have to, that's when it's like, well, wait a minute. You don't have to. You don't have to go through this, Lauren. Much the same way that I would look at everyday folks and say, you actually don't have to go through that. If you're frustrated in whatever situation in life, and that's where we're going today. Take personal responsibility. So here's my 3 steps, okay, for taking personal responsibility for your life. Now, there's a pretty good tip that we just stumbled upon is if you are using the word have to, make sure it's true, because it's probably not. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do that. Rarely. Now, if you say I have to in this given situation, the situation that I've created for myself, okay, I'll give you that one. So here's my quick 3-step, like, wow, what do we do? The first step is be brutally honest with yourself. Be brutally honest with yourself. If you are in a situation where you find yourself frustrated, irritated, consistently, whether it's like, I wish I had more money. I wish I had more free time. I wish I had more, healthy wish I had healthy relationships. Any sort of position like that where you find yourself in a state of want or need. Like, man, I just wish this was different. Be brutally honest with yourself. Not just with the change, but with your actions currently, or what brought you to this point, or what are you doing within yourself. Now, it might take a lot of time. This is the part that is a tougher pill to swallow. Doesn't change overnight. And I want to encourage you, if you're in that position and you think, well, what do you mean? No, I don't have an education. Well, you can get educated. Well, that's going to be really hard. Yep, it is. It is. I'm completely out of shape. Yep, this is going to be hard. I'm unhealthy, and, I went to the doctor, and they don't have a pill to fix me. Well, they don't. You got to lose 100 pounds. Oh, I can't. Nope, you can. People have done it before. You can do it. Is it hard? Yes. Be brutally honest with yourself.
A statement that I'm thinking that I think is embedded with what you're saying is count the cost. Everything's got a cost.
Absolutely.
Everything does.
Well, and it's this give and take. And I use the phrase opportunity cost. With every situation, you're giving up an opportunity cost. You have to count that. So it's like, oh, I'm overweight. Yeah, because you you gave up the opportunity cost to be healthy for the sake of junk food or eating what you want when you want. And I say that not to lambaste people, but it's like, that's what it is. And it's like, oh, well, I'm 40 and I don't have the job that I want. Well, it's because at 20 you dropped out of college, or because at 25 you chose to take this other job, or because for the last 40 years or 30 years or whatever, you've been wasting money. I had a great conversation with a friend of mine a few days ago, and he's 60, and he was talking about his lack of retirement. And he had a very healthy view. He was like, man, I have really messed up. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I'm 60, I'm self-employed, but I'm staring down the next 10 years, and I've just got Social Security. He's like, it's tough. So I'm having to really, the next 5 years of my life, I am having to really completely work my tail off and change our saving habits, our spending habits, do this radical overhaul because of where I am. But I appreciate it because that's personal responsibility to say, that's what I get frustrated with. Like with somebody, there is no deus ex machina. That's the theatrical term for this intervention. Like at the end of the movie when it was like, oh, it was all aliens the whole time, or oh, it was just a dream. People wait for that deus ex machina moment. It probably isn't going to come. It's up to you. So you have to be brutally honest. I'm going to give you 2 more and then we're out of here. This is my favorite, and this is for you high achievers out there, all right? This is for you high achievers that would fall in, because there are all sorts of categories here, right? That's why I say it's a spectrum. This is not just for the quote-unquote down and outs, or the people that are just blaming the world and everything. A lot of high achievers have this entitlement, subtle entitlement, or lack of responsibility. Like I know a lot, like even in my own case, I've said it myself, like, what, Jared, you're traveling a lot. Yeah, I wish I didn't have to travel as much. Yeah, but I have to. Nope. Stop. That's the next step. Stop and watch the world keep moving.
You certainly don't have to, but at the same time, you're trying to build something. And I mean, there's importance in that too. And you got to pick and choose the things you make sacrifices for.
Well, I think this is all, I've heard that statement before related a lot to pressure. So it is related to high achievers, kind of this point that you're talking about. But I can't remember where I heard it. It was a podcast years ago, but it was all about like these like 5 ways to navigate pressure. And one of them was telling yourself you're not the only one who can do it. And it often never changed. He would still be the one to go and do it. But he said like as long as he had this pressure and perspective that he has to, then he could never get himself to want to. And so he just like needed to always understand that there was something else or someone else who could do what he's doing, and it alleviated the pressure to have to go and do it.
Yeah.
It didn't change. 9 times out of 10, he still did it. But it was like these, like, I can't remember the other steps, but that's always the one that stuck to me is you don't have to. And there's something about that switch in pressure that changes your perspective.
Jess, you're exactly right. That's what I'm calling opportunity cost. That at this moment, you have to decide, like, okay, and instead of maybe saying I have to, you can change that verb slightly and it's like, okay, if I want this, then I should, or I must, or I, and then you go, wow, actually, I don't have to do that as like this blanket lack of responsibility, but that's where it's stop and be honest with yourself. Like, I think some people it's easy to give the answers that sound good. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be completely, like, especially for high achievers out there, it's easy to say like, hey, what are your priorities? Oh, my family, number one priority. No, it's not. Be honest with yourself. Know your work is. Like, that's where you find a lot of, and I'm talking to a lot of high achieving, and I'll be sexist now, a lot of high achieving men, but I'm just speaking to that because I'm a man, and that's who I associate with mostly on these kind of conversations. I would dare say a lot of female entrepreneurs or high achieving leaders feel the same way, but it's like, no, this is where your identity is wrapped up. So you think you have to, you feel like you have to, but you say, my family is my priority or whatever's my priority. It's like, you're just saying that. That's like the label answer.
Yeah.
That's why I say, be honest with yourself. And if the honest answer is like what you just said, Jess, like, no, I want to build my empire. I want to build my business. I want to have a $10 million, $100 million, $500 million revenue. Great. Then at least with yourself, be honest about it.
Yeah.
Like, Lauren, be honest. Like, no, there is a choice here. Like the honest answer is like,
married to
hey,
an athlete.
yeah, this kind of stinks, but I do like the $40 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks for being honest. Like, hey, would you like to give that up? No.
Also,
Okay.
I've been thinking about this. She could stay.
I know. Well, that's why I said there are
Right.
there
I've
are a
always
lot.
wondered
Yes,
that.
Yeah.
that's when I gave the example of the everyday folks that are working at a pipeline or working on a or working off, working remotely, working wherever. It's like, yeah, they choose. My family's here, my life is here, and I'm working away. They can do the same thing. That's where we should wrap this up. It's always a choice. That's where I want to end this day. It's always a choice that you have to be honest with yourself. It is okay to stop. I'd like to give permission, especially for those high achievers out there, people that are listening to this podcast that feel like, well, I have to, and I have to, I have to. Just stop for a minute. The world will probably keep going, and it will help you analyze where changes can be made. Because so many times we just keep going. Like, we just keep going. Like, and I'll speak for myself. I just keep going. Like, well, I'm traveling too much. Jared, can you do this event? Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just traveling too much. Stop. Give yourself some stop. And especially if you're listening to this podcast and you have some autonomy in that way. And even then, if you don't have autonomy in that way, that's where you go, wow, I want a different career. I want a different job. I want a different lifestyle. I want a different pathway. It's not going to change overnight, but you can change. Yes, Lim.
I was going to say, this seems to unlock an actual pathway to success. Because when we're lying to ourselves and we have these conflicting priorities, it would seem that that's what keeps us stuck. But when we can count the cost and be brutally honest that, okay, I'm going to clarify, no, this is not what I want. And so then we can actually move forward in what we actually want. It seems to be,
That is good. That is
pathway to
really deep.
success.
That is really deep, and that is really profound.
And I think that I would venture to say that there's people listening who are like, well, how do I be that honest with myself? And that's a different podcast. It's not like something
Totally.
we covered today. But I think that question is there like, well, that's awesome, especially high achievers talking about it. For the rest of us, like, how do I be honest with myself and mean it? I know something that I've had to implement in my life, especially with the have to and the pressures of that, is switching that statement from like, I have to do this to I get to do this. And the moment I stop believing that I get to do this,
Yeah.
like that, to me, that's how I'm honest with myself. Like, then there actually is something I need to change. Like, if I can't really at least 90% believe that perspective, if I look back on any other, transition I've had in my life, it's often come from that, no, I'm telling myself I get to, and this still does not. This feels like I'm in a prison versus like an opportunity. And when
Yeah.
it becomes that prison versus opportunity mindset, I think that's where you really have to take some of those honest steps.
Well, and I love pairing that with that's a good practical step for what Lim said. Like, what is real success? Real success might not be the amount of money that you think you need or that you have to get. real success might actually just be completely downsizing your life. Like, wow, we're gonna get a smaller house, we're gonna get cheaper cars, we're gonna completely change our lifestyle. If that indeed then feels like an opportunity, not a prison. Prisons come in all shapes and sizes. Prisons can be beautiful. Prisons can be really expensive, And so wherever you are on this spectrum, it's not about achievement. It's not about quote unquote success or money or outward success, what we collectively as society think of as successful. You can be anywhere on this spectrum. And like we started, you can be a professional athlete making a lot of money and not take personal responsibility, which I feel like there was the subtle hint in that, Or you can be like you mentioned, Jess, people who maybe are the other end of that monetary spectrum and then blame everybody else for their woes. But wherever it is, the unifying symptom is take personal responsibility. You always have a choice. And if you're listening to this today, this is the Good Leader Podcast. If you want to move forward, you have to take that personal responsibility. Otherwise, you're going to continually have an out, and you will use that out as an excuse for your bad behavior. And I say bad behavior, I mean bad behavior to you, behavior that reinforces dissatisfaction, unhappiness, frustration, all those things. We talk a lot about goals. We talk a lot about metrics and benchmarks and all those things. But this really is more of the heart of the matter. This is what Lemuel said, that, well, what is success to you? And there's a great, I've read this book, and I've mentioned it a couple times, this 10X is better than 2X, and there's a really cool phrase in it. Dan Sullivan, the strategic coach, he says, it's okay to want what you want. Why? Because I want it. He's like, you can never justify a want. And so if you're like, I want more money, great, then say that. And you want what you want. I want a bigger house, great, say that. I want what I want. I want more vacation time, great, you want what you want. Hey, I don't want that. I actually want more free time. I want more time at home. I want this. Cool. Want what you want. And thinking through that lens and then taking personal responsibility for it rather than blaming others is a great start. So what's the lesson today? Whether you're a professional athlete or whether you are somewhere a little bit lower on that monetary spectrum, money doesn't matter. It's about taking responsibility for your life. Know that you always have a choice. So wherever you are, whatever situation you're in, go out there, make good choices, and be a good leader.